Hey everybody, it's Atheist for the Cause here, and we've got a new Project Veritas video out, and so it says, Voters Stupid as Shit, American Pravada CNN Part 3. And as you know, I've predicted that there will probably be 4 CNN parts, and then I think they'll go on to other media outlets, or maybe I'm just hoping that's what it is. But okay, so it seems that they're setting up these parts to work together, obviously. So I always thought that watching his past videos and stuff, they seem to have a strategy where each part fits a cog in the wheel. Like, so for the first part, they want it to be somewhat juicy to raise the interest level, and then so you need some substance there. But you don't want it to be too detailed. You want it to be kind of broad stuff that fits what people pretty much thought. That CNN was fake news. They pretty much said, that the Russia narrative was bullshit. That's what people were thinking. That's what the evidence seemed to point to. And then they had CNN say, a producer say that in the, a supervisor producer say that in the first part. So then in part 2, they have, it's a lot shorter, and it wasn't meant to be juicy or anything like that. In terms of content, there was very little there, but what it was is it was very memeable. So there's, with Van Jones saying it poetically that Russia is a nothing burger. Okay, so everybody took that and made tons of memes and spread it. So now you have tons of interest in this, and now you have to get into the details as much as you can, and I think part 3 starts to get into those details a little bit, and so let's get into this and see what they're talking about.
We all recognize he is a clown, that he is hilariously unqualified for this, that he's really bad at this, and then
Notice this is a high-level guy too, CNN associate producer Jimmy Carr.
He does not have America's best interests. We recognize it's justified and crazy.
Would it be fair to question the intellect of the American voter?
Oh no, they're stupid as shit. I hate to be this stupid.
This is James O'Keefe. How are you? Do you have a comment, sir, about the Russia story?
Then why is CNN constantly Russia this, Russia that?
Because it's ratings.
I would encourage everybody in this room, and frankly, everybody across the country, to take a look at it.
The Russia thing is just a big nothing burger.
I'm changing it from fake news, though.
Doesn't that undermine?
Very fake news.
I know, but
that's still my favorite part of there. I'm changing it from fake news. Very fake news. And you just have Acosta trying to talk over him, and look, nobody knew what Acosta was trying to say because everybody was laughing from what Trump said. Everybody was listening to Trump.
He doesn't believe
Did you hear the giggle in the background?
anything that's being believed. We recognize it's justified and crazy.
Mr. Zucker, this is James O'Keefe. How are you? Do you have a comment, sir, about the Russia story?
I mean, it's not necessarily evidence of guilt or anything like that, but the fact that CNN's producer doesn't, that they're unwilling to talk to, or the CEO is unwilling to talk to James O'Keefe, and not just that they're unwilling, but he's actually scared of James O'Keefe, where they're setting up a strategy to distract him so that he can quick run in the car. I mean, it's kind of telling.
Fake news. We continue our American Pravda investigations in...
Whoa. I just caught James O'Keefe with a false statement. He called CNN fake news. They are very fake news, sir. Gotcha. Now this is real journalism here. I can fact check James O'Keefe better than the mainstream media can. Look at that.
Inside America's mainstream media with part 3 on CNN. I'd like you to meet Jimmy Carr. He's a producer for CNN's morning show, New Day. His unvarnished and hate-filled opinion of President Trump gives us some insight into how people at CNN really think.
CNN, it's an impartial, right? What's the view of Trump in like the kind of media circle, basically?
On the inside, we all recognize he is a clown, that he is hilariously unqualified for this, that he's really bad at this, and that he does not have America's best interests. We recognize his chest.
Yeah, this is all it is his political stance, pretty much, because, I mean, sure, he's a leftist, you know, so he is anti-Trump, no surprise. Like, I'd ask him, what Republican would you be happy with? What Republican president? I don't think there'd be any. He'd be attacking any of the Republicans that won. You know, Ted Cruz, do you want him? I can only imagine how he'd be freaking out. Jeb Bush, they'd go crazy with the fact that he's a Bush. So, I mean, Marco Rubio, they maybe would have been a little friendlier to, but they would have hated on him plenty, trust me, so.
I mean, because look, here's the deal. This is a man who's not actually a Republican. He's not actually a Republican. He just adopted that because that was the party he thought he could win it. He doesn't believe anything that these people believe.
Now, actually, some people might hate me for this, but that statement was somewhat true, largely true. Like, Trump is... It was a hostile takeover of the Republican Party. People have to remember that because the Republican establishment was totally off base with the average American, the average Republican American. And so they put in an anti-establishment guy, and that happened to be Donald Trump. But keep in mind, Donald Trump is the will of the people, and the fact that Trump's not really a true Republican in the establishment sense, that's not a huge problem. That's a good thing, actually. Trump is actually a centrist, and he has some policies that do fall on the left. And so you think, CNN would get over their partisan bias, but the fact that he's got an R next to their name makes them so upset that they've got to constantly attack and demonize him, and they would do this to anybody. But the fact that Trump is anti-establishment and has, picked a war with them, they're just going crazy with it now. So
the man's on his third wife. I guarantee you, he's paid for abortions. He doesn't give a shit about it.
A lot of politicians go through multiple wives. I mean, some of it has to do with the lifestyle and stuff. That's part of the reason Chavez just left Congress, because he was with he said he wanted to spend time with his family because he was living on a cot in his office. That's where he slept every night.
He doesn't care about gay marriage. He doesn't even really care about the budget.
Right.
The man's upping the budget.
I think he cares about the budget. He cares about economics. That's what Trump went into office to fix the economic situation. I think it's largely true that he doesn't care too much about the social issues, not necessarily as a person, but just in terms of what he wants to do for the country. His expertise is in economics, negotiation, things like that. So yeah, his goal isn't to get in office and change abortion rights or anything like that. That should make you happy. But you're just a biased fuck that you can't get over your own slanted view of the world. I mean, you're literally discussing why you shouldn't be opposing Trump as much as you are.
Budget, even though he promised to rein it in.
You mean he'd be pro-gay marriage or anti-gay marriage?
I don't think he gives a shit.
Our critics will say Jimmy Carr only...
And actually, I do think he cares, as a person, I think he cares about gay marriage because Trump was actually pro-gay marriage before it was cool. Before that was the popular thing. When it was very unpopular, Trump was advocating for gay marriage rights because this is back in the 90s when Hillary Clinton was against gay marriage. Remember, Hillary Clinton comes from the Deep South. And, her history is in Arkansas. So if you go back and look, Trump was actually for gay rights before Hillary Clinton was. And I think even today, Trump still stands for gay rights. I don't think he ever backtracked on that, but don't quote me on that.
Only speaks for himself. But he told us in no uncertain terms that almost everyone at CNN agrees with his sentiments.
90% of us are on board with just the fact that he's crazy.
What do you mean, 90% are on board what?
You know, I'm kind of wondering, is he being like hyperbolic when he says crazy? Because what's that based on? They actually did try to make that argument. I'm not completely sure how literal he's being there, because they did make the argument that he should basically be impeached because he's mentally compromised.
With her.
No, I wouldn't say with her, but just acknowledge the fact that he's batshit.
90%.
You're my
direct quote.
Carr doesn't have a very high opinion of CNN's audience either.
Would it be fair to question I don't want to be rude here. I'll be careful how I put it. You're at least some percentage Irish, Scottish. Would it be fair to question the intellect of the American voter?
Oh no, they're stupid as shit.
That's unbelievable. This is what they think of you if you're a loyal CNN watcher. This is gonna be completely damning. Now, there are some CNN watchers that you're never gonna reach. They're just too far gone. But you can't be too pessimistic. The majority of people are reachable with enough time. And so, with the first Project Veritas video, like I said, they got some really juicy stuff. And they got people interested. But they got the Republicans interested. And the Republicans, or the right wing, I should say, the Trump supporters, and they're not all Republicans. There's like some Trump supporting progressives, like Bernie afterburners, they call them. That they also support Trump and everything. So, but they're the ones who are gonna take the fight to the CNN viewers. And then the CNN viewers are going to have to respond. But they're not going to watch the video for the most part. They might see some clips or something, and even if they do watch it, they're going to have this cognitive dissonance, and they're going to, just deny it, say selective editing and stuff like that. Selective editing that argument is actually very worthwhile for CNN to make. To hold their own base. It works very effectively, because when I'm talking to leftists that watch and love CNN, they cite the selective editing argument more than any other argument, and then they pretty much just go from there. Oh, it's selectively edited it. Then they cite James O'Keefe, how he's not a credible person for whatever reason, and then they that's it. That's the conversation ender. Well, then you got into, the second one. It was a nothing burger, so it's memeable, and it's kind of just keeping it out there constantly. So it's keeping in people's minds, leftists are having a tough time hiding from the information. Well, now you have this comment, and I think this is going to be the biggest comment taken from this video. And when you're personally attacked, if you're a CNN viewer and you're personally attacked, you might not sway because of this comment. This is going to open you up, though. Oh, this is what they think of me? They're giving me a message thinking I'm stupid? Well, that will wake people up. It might not get people to go to pro-Trump or to watch right-wing news or anything, but it could get people to leave CNN, to leave mainstream media news, and go to independent news. Maybe they go to people like A.J. Goodman, or The Hard Bastard, or Sargon of Akkad, or, even more, maybe slightly more mainstream than, just YouTubers or whatever, but there are there's a lot of this comment's going to do a lot of damage to CNN.
His harsh words didn't stop there.
Now, and of course, the thing that pisses the White House off, because we actually had that awful woman, Kellyanne Conway, you know, the blonde.
Who's sorry?
Kellyanne Conway.
What's she look like? Is she the one with
She
the?
looks like she got hit with a shovel. So she looks like she got hit with a shovel.
Damn, ouch. Kellyanne Conway. So, you know, given that they're left constant, see, this is kind of funny because the left is the one always using the argument that you shouldn't attack the way women look, and they've used that against Trump so often. But now here they are doing it, and it shows hypocrisy to the max. This could be another one of those comments that really sticks with people on the left, because one of the best ways, and this too is the far left. This could reach the far left, because one of the best ways to get to people on the far left is to fight fire with fire. You don't present logic to them because they don't have the same worldview to you. They don't follow the same reasoning as you. And a lot of times they're just playing power politics. But, you know, when you're attacking a woman, woman is a protected group. And that's unacceptable in, like, the progressive stack. So you say, oh, you know, you support CNN, who says that Kellyanne Conway, a woman, looks like she got hit with a shovel, and then that puts them on the defensive because it makes them out to be a sexist. And so now supporting CNN is going to be seen to some extent as, you know, supporting sexism. And this could push people to places like the Huffington Post and places like that. But, you know, getting them off of CNN and to other outlets like the Huffington Post, I think that's a positive gain for Trump supporters and for the right wing.
Carl reiterated what we've heard from other CNN staffers that we filmed. This is John Bonifield from CNN's Atlanta headquarters. Did you get the location this time? Paul Fari of the Washington Post?
Then why is CNN constantly like Russia this, Russia that?
Because it's ratings.
Because it's ratings?
Our ratings are incredible right now. And it goes, just to give you some context, President Trump pulled out of the climate accords, and for a day and a half we covered the climate accords, and the CEO of CNN said in our internal meeting, he said, good job everybody covering the climate accords, but we're done with it, let's get back to Russia.
So this is brilliant to bring up here because, you know, they just got over how they're attacking a woman, and now they're going into, you know, now people are starting to doubt CNN. So now they're going into, okay, well, CNN doesn't actually even believe the Russia narrative. They're only doing it for ratings. And they're skipping over covering one of the most serious issues to a lot of people on the left, which is the climate. And they're skipping over the climate accords issue. And, you know, people are going to feel, now that they're going to be more open to this, they're going to feel a little backstabbed, basically.
Carr reaffirms that it's CNN's brass that wants the Russia story because it's good for the ratings. Money.
It's decisions made by people higher than me, and if they go, wow, your ratings are soaring right now, keep up what you're doing. Well, what we're doing is Russia, ISIS, London terror, shooting in Chicago. That's it.
Carr said.
So no policy there is the key thing, and imagine if you're a CNN, a staunch CNN viewer, like even through that worldview, and you know, I can understand where they come from a lot of issues, because I actually fall, you know, on the left I lean left to some extent, and you know, but I'm more of a centrist, so I'm not as far as they are on the left, but I understand where they're coming from. And I used to be further left, and then I started moving slowly to the right, like a lot of people do, as I got older. Now, imagine being them and just hearing this. And so they're attacking you personally, they're attacking women, and this is just one guy. They're skipping over principle. They're basically giving you bullshit for ratings. Why would you waste? It kind of feels like a waste of time at this point. That's how I'd feel if I was a CNN watcher or viewer.
It's ratings. And CNN host and political commentator Van Jones says the Russia story is fake news.
The Russia thing is just a big nothing burger.
Really?
So that's just about, reinforce it with another person at CNN saying Russia's bullshit.
You don't think that...
There's nothing there you can do. Get a break.
It now seems pretty clear that CNN's bias and dishonesty is a plague in the once respected news organization.
This is New Day with Chris Cuomo and Allison Camerata.
Jimmy Carr works for New Day, CNN's morning show. It's hosted by Allison Camerata and Chris Cuomo, who once said our methods can be quite effective.
James O'Keefe is definitely someone who's identified with the right, but Eric Garner's daughter isn't, and she's the one who said that Al is all about the money.
She was caught on tape not knowing she was being videotaped, so she wouldn't have said that.
Sometimes that's when you're the most honest.
Well, there you go.
That's hilarious because, one argument against James O'Keefe in these Project Veritas videos is that people don't know they're on camera. And that only goes so far. I don't think it's one of the main arguments, but it's there, and this kind of undermines that argument.
Funny enough, we found further evidence of CNN's culture of malpractice and deception on New Day itself. On March 30th, Carr's show aired what looked to be a pretty routine political story featuring Camerata and a panel of 6 Trump voters.
So here we are, 60 plus days into his presidency, and we want to get your grades and your impressions of how President Trump is doing.
The raw audio of the panel interview was leaked to us. It lasted nearly an hour and a half, cut down to only 8 minutes when it aired. What's striking is not what Carr and his fellow producers chose to include, but what they chose to omit. It's called selective editing. Let's look at this portion, when panelist William Baer is discussing the president's claim of voter fraud.
And we don't know how, as far as the votes and fraud and everything else. I mean, my assumption is that he probably would have gotten elected by a higher number than what the results actually showed.
But are you saying that you believe that there were 3 to 5 million illegals who voted?
Oh, I know that in New Hampshire. I've seen it. I've seen busloads of people.
Again, this is what we keep coming back to. When you say you've seen it, do you mean a dozen or do you mean 3 million? There's a difference.
Well, obviously, there's only 1.5 million people in New Hampshire, so I didn't say 3 million people.
Well, the number that President Trump said was 3 to 5 million illegals in California.
I don't doubt that.
No, he said in California.
Extrapolating.
What they're doing here is extremely dirty, and I listened to the raw footage when they're going to show the raw footage of this, and it's just ridiculous how CNN selectively edits this. And if you're ever asked to go on a panel like this, just understand they're doing it for a narrative, and they're gonna take you out of context and cut off important information that you say to fit their narrative. It is lying. They're not saying they're not saying a false statement, but they're purposefully taking something you said and deleting it, that's something relevant, and to give the opposite impression. And so there are multiple types of lying. Lying by omission is probably the worst type of lying out there. It's the most propagandist, I would say.
Based on what I've seen with my own eyes, busloads of people coming in, whether they're illegal, meaning they came into the country illegally, or they're illegal voters. They came over from Massachusetts into New Hampshire.
Billy, are you sticking with your...
Exactly. It's kind of off topic, but what that guy said is, voting twice. Keep in mind, not all illegal votes are from, people who aren't citizens here, because if, say, I go out and vote in 3-4 different locations, or if I go to the same location and vote 2, 3, 4 times, those votes are illegal.
You've seen busloads or no?
I have seen busloads. I guess I can't cite the busloads that I've seen and where I've seen them, but on television I've seen it.
Baer is painted as a conspiracy theorist. Look at the on-screen chyron. Quote, Trump voters on his unproven voter fraud claims, unquote. The implication, no evidence of voter fraud whatsoever. When Camerata asks for proof, the panelist has no answer. Or so it seems. Here's the raw audio from immediately after the edit.
I have seen busloads. I guess I can't cite the busloads that I've seen and where I've seen them, but on television I've seen it. And I mean, has anybody looked into like what James O'Keefe has done when he went up?
This is so awesome. How, when they originally did this, how much do you think CNN hated that they're talking to some Trump supporters and James O'Keefe is being thrown in their face? That's when they have to know, like, James O'Keefe is making an impact. The heads at CNN absolutely know that James O'Keefe is somebody that matters.
Undercover to these various polling places. He went in and basically was ready to vote as somebody else. Nobody asked for ID. I was actually a poll watcher in New Jersey, and I saw what was going on there. There were college students voting, and there was basically, you use a, that's right, or you use a provisional ballot, and it's never challenged. They just put it right through. I mean, this is.
So, I find this very interesting because actually, I saw Alex Jones pushing at InfoWars, pushing, go out and watch the polls and make sure nothing shady is going on. And thinking about that now with the way he's talking about it, what that's really doing, now consider, he doesn't really have proof that, he must not have been videotaping or whatever. So he doesn't really have proof of illegal voting in the ways that, like, he can't point to videotape evidence or something of where they were dropping off busloads of people. But he knows it happened, and he could see, the provisional ballot stuff where you just fill out a provisional ballot, they push it through, they don't nobody challenges it unless it's an extremely close race. So that's how you have illegal votes. Now, so if you really think about it, this isn't anything you could use in court or anything like that. So what Alex Jones' campaign really did, and I don't know if he watched Alex Jones or not, but what that really did was get his viewers to be aware of the issue. And people will fight a lot harder on this issue if they've seen it. You know what I mean? It's really more about the person who goes to the polls and sees the wrongdoing there themselves and how it changes the person for the better for themselves. So, and makes them more into an activist rather than a passive watcher.
This is common.
At the moment Baer is about to cite the evidence to support his claim, CNN ends the clip. The piece suggests that Baer did not have a legitimate answer to Camerata's question. In actuality, the answer was cut because it didn't fit their narrative. This is a textbook lie of omission.
So yeah, he did have some evidence for CNN of, like, that voter fraud does happen in the United States, where, he used the James O'Keefe example that they edited out, but he didn't have evidence directly of what he saw with the bus loads unloading and people voting illegally. So it is lying by omission, for sure, but it's still, he didn't have direct evidence of his specific sightings.
In the last week, CNN's credibility as a news organization has been put in serious doubt. We wondered what CEO Jeff Zucker would have to say about it.
James O'Keefe.
This is actually really important this is driving the nail in, because, okay, so how do you get everything, Project Veritas and American Pravada, everything they brought up, how do you turn that into results? Because right now they're just attacking CNN. CNN isn't a person. CNN as an entity isn't just going to collapse or anything like that. Now you want to hurt the brand of CNN for sure, but you need to have it. You want to make heads roll, basically. So they're going after the CEO of CNN. He is becoming the face of this, and they want to see him. It's pretty clear they want to see Zucker fired. And if Zucker gets fired, this will all... Just imagine what that would do for Trump if Zucker has to resign.
How are you? Do you have a comment, sir, about the Russia story? Okay. That was pretty cowardly there, wasn't it?
Zucker did not wish to talk to me. That's not surprising. His network has been exposed as not merely just biased, but corrupt and deeply dishonest. His leadership must now be in question. In the final analysis, this is about a conflict of visions between a dying legacy mainstream establishment media that seeks to characterize and interpret reality versus an American people that craves unfiltered, raw, real, true information. No more fake news.
So CNN, in my opinion, has fallen into the trap of short-term gain for long-term punishment. And I think they're really going to be damaged by this concept that, they're lying to their viewers just for ratings, and they're not covering policy. And how long is that really going to last, where the viewers are just going to keep watching it without actually getting any information on policy they care about. And now it's being exposed, because when you do something like that, you're opening yourself up to being exposed. And CNN's in big trouble, because how long are the financial backers, and the investors going to allow this to continue without, especially with Zucker being the face of this? If you get rid of Zucker and have him resign, put a new face on CNN, you can kind of, show that you're changing and get people back. So I think the financial backers are going to start to really pressure Zucker to step down. And if Zucker steps down, that will be such a huge win for Trump, because Trump has targeted CNN more than any other media outlet for being fake news. And it'll just show that Trump really does win when over and over and over when he puts his mind to something. So that's what I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys later.